All right, guys, look, I'll take the win there, but we kind of nearly blew in the second half, honestly. We're starting to just not play as well as I think we can, but we've made our way through the final. That's the main thing. Through the Champions League for next season. We want to win this National League, though, for a third season in a row. Take some psychological edge into that Champions League. We should have beat Auckland City a few games ago. Let's make sure this time that we actually get some shots on target and pick up a win. I know I've got to play Northern Rovers before then. I've got to go to Ukraine for the national team. But let's just prep nicely for Auckland City in the final, get the edge over them before that big Champions League, because the Club World Cup, okay?
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 76 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Technical and the All Whites, and yet again we've got a game today with both of those teams. Second up, it's the National League Championship Grand Final with spoilers. We're going to be taking on Auckland City at Sky Stadium, but before then, the November international window, we were scrambled to sort out a friendly away in Ukraine. So if you're looking forward to those two games coming up in today's episode, as well as transfer budgets and the end of season review, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But first up today, it is an international friendly with the All Whites. Played one of these in yesterday's episode against Mali and also took on Auckland City, and we end up being a final preview with Cashmere Technical. So if you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. As you might have noticed off the back of that Mali game, the two teams that previously we were scheduled to play in this window in November had already both cancelled on us, in Costa Rica as well as Saudi Arabia. So it does mean I had to scramble a little bit to try and get a friendly in this window, but thankfully was able to sort one out, albeit it is against a team quite a bit higher than us on the FIFA World Rankings, and that is Ukraine. They are up in 28th and are a team with a bit more of a reputation than us, and also their youth rating is a bit stronger as well. Still got some decent players from real life at the club, like Ilya Zabanye and also Mudryk from Chelsea in real life. So it should be a good test for us here against the team out of Europe. So far, been avoiding European teams because they, I think, have a bit more depth up there than in some of the other regions around the world. But it'll be interesting to see how we get on off the back of that previous window, where we picked up wins over Australia and Mali, who, to be fair, aren't too far behind these guys in terms of their world rankings. And going into this window, one of our former AFC Auckland players did become eligible for the All Whites, and we've selected him because he comes in as a first choice player, and he's someone who has played previously for Australia. So certainly opens the door for more players like this in the future. You can see him there in attacking midfield. Max Caputo has switched his allegiance from Australia to New Zealand. The anti-snake, I think we'll call him. What a lad, after his one cap where he did score a goal on debut for Australia just before the very first World Cup we went to in the save. Now he's spent 5 years in New Zealand, wants to play for us here with the All Whites, saying, as we just beat Australia, he knows that we're better. So Max Caputo these days is an option for the All Whites, and we are going to start him in this upcoming game up in Ukraine. It does mean now that Jamie Kelly is the backup. That's now quite a strong area for us, with also Jay Herdman waiting in the wings. But a couple of injuries that we do have to some other players going in to this window, to be fair, doesn't affect too many positions in terms of the starting 11 apart from right wing, because as you can see, Jacob Hall-Jones is there, and that is because of an injury to Justin Keat at the San Jose Earthquakes. Unfortunately, he is out for just past this friendly. We do take on Ukraine, so Jacob Hall-Jones does come in and is on a bit less of a workload than his teammate in Ben Olsen. He can get a keep. He's been coming in over the last couple of years and doing a decent job usually as a left winger here and there, so hopefully he'll do well outright. And also, we've got Victor Sono still at right back. That's just because Martin Darman always tired when he does come in to the All Whites camp, and a few players on the bench who aren't usually there as well. We've got Finn Surman at centre back. That's because of an injury to Simon Curtis. And going down right to the bottom, Owata Walese, the player who scored that winning goal for the Soccer Ashes a couple of episodes ago, he's also out injured, which does mean a recall for the Wayne train these days. He is over at Pau in League Dot, I believe that is. Indeed it is. They are in 15th, so not doing too well, but that's where Ben Wayne has ended up off the back of his stint with us at AFC Auckland. So a couple of players making their way back into the team, and also, as I said, that addition of Max Caputo, which on paper should make us even stronger with this All Whites team. But it's still a pretty good team we can put out for this friendly, but as I said, going to need to be, because Ukraine, toughest opposition that we have taken on in a little while. This is an away game, but for obvious reasons, no bus trip, considering the opposition and real life things at the moment. So apologies for that. We haven't done a bus trip for a little while now. Maybe that will happen next season, or if we can make our way to the FIFA Club World Cup, that will be coming up early stages of next week, because we are already in the final, but we have qualified for that OFC Champions League. But hopefully we can keep rising up the rankings here with the All Whites as we take on Ukraine. And here are the team sheets for this one. First up is the home team, to be the main reason we are looking at these team sheets. They're looking quite defensive. 5 at the back, 2 defensive midfielders, Udrick as a cam, and then 2 strikers. There's our team, as ran through before, a debut in central attacking midfield for Max Caputo. No songs, obviously, because it's an away game. It would be really weird if they were playing New Zealand football songs, but hopefully we can pick up a decent result here in the slate friendly that was scrambled together against Ukraine. And just past the 20-minute mark, first highlight of this game here is a free kick to Ukraine in the yellow. They pick out Sabanye there at the far post, but thankfully heads that one just over the bar. Up until then, we were slightly on the front foot in terms of stats so far, the only team with a shot on target, but unfortunately the highlights so far are in favour of the home team. Let's see if we can match it with a decent European team. To be fair, we have done that when we've gone to the World Cup, but in a game like this, especially with some injuries, might be a bit tougher. Alex Paulson there comes up with a big save. George McDonald on an orange injury, not ideal. We encourage that cuts out that corner. Might have to take off George McDonald here going into the second half. Might be a run coming up for the Wayne trainers. Louis Evans, he now picks up a yellow card. That's becoming quite common, both with the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. But that will do it for the first half. It's been a very quiet game stats-wise, quite even. But in the Ukraine have got just that one more shot on target, a couple more shots off. Their XG is a bit better. And to be fair, as well as the 2 players I was already planning to take off, there's going to be Ben Wayne coming on for McDonald, but a couple more players on 6.4s, both our wingers, Sloan Rodriguez and Ben Old. They can come on. Also Joe Bell for the yellow-carded Louis Evans. So quite a few changes there at halftime, but yet again, we've got 6 subs in this window. That just gives us a bit more wiggle room to make the most of what can sometimes be some tired players coming in to these friendlies. But first half, pretty quiet. Hopefully, second half will spark up a bit more as it's 0-0 in Ukraine. And just shy of the hour mark, get the first highlight here of the second half. Briefly there, we were on the attack, but unfortunately can't quite keep the ball and look to get our first decent chance off in this game. Unfortunately, Libakache there with a poor read. Mudryk gets in behind, and now they find some space here on the edge of the box, and Lushenko will put that one away with some help from the inside of the post. Unfortunately, bad read there from Kakache on that clearance from Trubin in goal for Ukraine, and that has led to the opening goal in this game. To be fair, based on first half stats, Ukraine probably deserve the lead in this game, but that is a pinpoint finish. No stopping that from Alex Paulson. And we go 1-0 down, just shy of the hour mark. Hopefully our guys can respond pretty soon off the back of that. And here's a chance for us here from a throw, which Libby will take. Hopefully can make up for that slight error. Beal plays it back to him, loses it briefly. Joe Bell there, I thought got to it, thankfully got cleared, but Tyler Binden can tidy things up for us. Now Kelly Heald plays it forward to Libby. Sloan Rodriguez briefly loses position. Then nice pass there from Cornelius Beal to Finnegan, starts to make his way inside, but unfortunately takes on the shot there. Maybe could have looked to play that in for someone in front of goal like Ben Old. A good chance for us there, but unfortunately still 1-0 behind, albeit we do see the goal kick off the back of that and do regain position. Libby Kakache moves that one out to Lucas Kelly Hill, goes back out there to Libby and back to LKH. Those two link up quite nicely. I think both those guys might be from Island Bay. Definitely Libby. Not too sure about Lucas, but we'll see square there for Max Caputo looking for another debut goal at international level, but unfortunately that shot does get blocked by a Ukraine defender, and we're still 1-0 down, about to make our way into the last 25 minutes, and Caputo goes down to a red hard on debut. Jamie Kelly can come on for him and also might try Darman in place of Sono and chuck Ben Old onto attack, start to play a bit wider and we'll see if that might help us get back into this game as we 1-0 down. And we just made it into the last 15 minutes of this game. Unfortunately, those changes we made before haven't made a difference just yet, so now we're going to turn it up a little bit more. Joe Bell onto support Libby, onto attack at left back. We will distribute to the fullback, so I think not do anything in position, but also play off a high defensive line and go attacking, and hopefully that will get us an equaliser with only 10 minutes left. And only a few minutes on from those previous changes we made, now it's time for us to go for the full jugular here, so we are going to start to play with shorter passing and be more expressive, and also I think it's time for us to maybe bust out the liberos, because that does work for us. Sometimes also going to tell our goalkeeper to distribute quickly, but both our centre backs, they can play as liberos on support. That has worked previously in some big World Cup games. So far this game, actually quite even. We've actually surprisingly got the higher XG, but unfortunately just the one shot on target, which is very Cashmere Technical of late, which is a bit concerning. But it's a 1-0 loss, to be fair. Ukraine probably deserve it with more shots on target than we had, but we kept that one close, which is encouraging against one of the better teams from up in Europe. But unfortunately, that's our first defeat for quite a while there with the All Whites, albeit a couple of injuries did maybe impact our bench depth just a little bit there, but a 1-0 loss in Ukraine. So unfortunately, I lost to start off today's episode there with the All Whites, albeit, as I said, a bit of a late scramble friendly, that one. Once those other teams did cancel on us, didn't leave us with too many options, but thankfully haven't dropped down the rankings too much. 38th in the world has done a little bit of damage off the back of that previous window, pretty much just undone it, but thankfully we are still a top 40 team. But now it's time for us to switch to Cashmere Technical mode for this National League Championship Grand Final, which, as I said before, is against Auckland City. Off the back of yesterday's episode, where we took these guys on, it was a 0-0 draw. We were definitely the better team in that game, but unfortunately couldn't quite put the ball in the back of net. We'll just see if these stats load up. Of course, this is the time it takes ages to do so. We'll just wait for this here. This game was at the GMP, which made it a bit more disappointing, but we were definitely the better team in this game, but unfortunately just 3 shots on target from our 16 overall. Off the back of that, we've picked up wins in our remaining 4 games in the championship phase of the National League. First up, 3-1 over Christchurch United, as you'd expect, considering that's our divisional rival from the Southern League. Then left it very late to pick up a 1-0 win over the Phoenix Reserve. To be fair, they've been pretty good so far this season in the National League Championship, knocking off teams like Western Suburbs. And then we booked our ticket in the final with a 4-2 win over Hamilton Wanderers. Looked really sharp early in this game. They did work their way back into it, made it 3-2 just after halftime, after we gave away yet another penalty. Not too sure what's happening there, but thankfully Riley Rogers with a late goal to make sure we do pick up a win. And then we played Northern Rovers. Again, a bit of a scratchy performance, but a 1-0 win over those guys who, to be fair, have been quite plucky in this National League Championship this season. So it does mean no losses in the National League Championship phase, just that one to Nelson Suburbs late on in the Southern League season. Both us and Auckland City with the exact same record, but their goal differential just a bit better. So technically, they're the home team, but that doesn't matter, seeing as this game is at Sky Stadium. And then Western Suburbs did finish third, but 6 points behind us. Phoenix Reserves, Christchurch United, and then down to the other teams. I say Northern Rovers were plucky. When I saw them, they weren't losing games by too much, but obviously they won no games. So what do I know? Only beating them 1-0 now looks like a bit of a concern. And unfortunately, that Northern Rovers game, there were a lot of casualties. We've got to shuffle the deck here quite a bit going into this National League Grand Final, but thankfully already got our ticket booked for the OFC Champions League next season. If we're going to lose a game to Auckland City in the next couple of months, it better be this one, because otherwise I'll be pretty filthy if we don't make our way to the FIFA Club World Cup after picking up the last 2 OFC Champions League. But going over to the medical centre, we've got 4 players in it, and 4 players who have just come back, and pretty much all of them were from that Northern Rovers game. At one point, we were down to 9 players on the field. Alex Moore, Sam Clark, João Teixeira, and Louis Rodriguez are all just coming back from injuries. Sam Clark was actually promoted up from the under-20s for this game because we need someone else, and he looks like the best option available with his 3-star current ability and 4-star potential player we signed for free off Coastal Spirit at the start of the season. But missing, we've got Mohamed El Ghazali, our backup striker with a twisted ankle from that Northern Rovers game. Also, Christian Benitez with a calf strain, same time out from that same game. Also in that game, we lost David Pedrobisi, our new starting right back. He's out for 1 to 3 more days, so it does mean he misses this final with a pulled bye. And also Tristan Turner with pulled knee ligaments out for a further 1 to 2 days, so it does mean a lot of shuffling in our squad heading in to this National League Championship Grand Final, but hopefully that won't be the case. We get that serious competition, the OFC Champions League, come the start of next week, and also hopefully tomorrow's episode as well, off the back of the transfer window. So we're going to run through our squad here because there are quite a few changes. Costarella in goal, that's first choice, and also most of our defence actually is first choice, but our club captain, Louis Henrique, comes back in at right back, to be fair, not missing out on too much there, and he does have decent match sharpness, so that's not a bad sub there. Henrique coming in for Pedrobisi. Also, as I said, Sam Clark, he comes in for Texera, albeit he is on the bench, but Sam Clark, an under 20 option, did think that would be a good idea, seeing as one of our regular ones in Christian Benitez was unavailable. Riley Rogers, Janssen, and Shusha at left wing. That's the other big change that we do make with that injury to Christian Benitez, but it does mean a nice link up there down our left-hand side between him and Xavier Smith, and Alex Moore is up front, even though he can be a bit streaky, but he has scored 16 goals this season, up there as one of the top goal scorers at the club, alongside Rogers and Janssen. And the bench, Elliot Kerwin, that's important, under 20 player, Texera Walker, and Michael James Gilbert as the backup striker. So a few changes to our squad because of all those injuries, but hopefully we can play similarly to what we did against Auckland City yesterday, but this time actually pick up a win at Sky Stadium. Technically, we're the away team, but this is the game where it doesn't matter too much at a neutral venue, and hopefully we can pick up our third straight National League Championship. And a quick look at the team sheets for this National League Championship Grand Final, mainly for Auckland City here, going with a 4-2-3-1. To be fair, that looks quite similar to the team we took on a couple of seasons ago in these games. Our team ran through before. Henrique, Clark, and Shusha are the players coming in for usual first teamers. Hopefully, still going to be good enough to pick this up, albeit, as I said, if we're going to lose to Auckland City, would like it to be now, not in the OFC Champions League. And it's taken until just shy of the 20-minute mark to get the first highlight of this final so far. It's been up to very little, and a poor pass there from our youngster, the 17-year-old in Sam Clark. He plays the ball through there, and now Stipe Ukic will try a long shot. That one just goes over the bar, nearly forced their Costarella into a save, but thankfully Auckland City don't quite hit the target. Up until that point, we'd had the only shot in the game. It's been very quiet so far in the first 20 minutes. Actually, we are trying a high defensive line for this game and have gone back to the higher tempo, seeing as we've struggled in those last couple of games in the National League phase. Thankfully, Ukic so far off target. That shot goes just over the bar. Louis Evans picks up yet another yellow card, just like he did on international duty. Starting a few more shots off now, but it is still 0-0. And now a free kick here to Auckland City. Piper looking there, I think, for Slottermaker, and actually good work there from Alex Moore. He should here probably get us on the counter-attack, and Riley Rogers can make his way forward. Can he set up a shot here? Just makes his way inside the box, passes that one back, looking for Louis Henrique, but unfortunately he's Australian. Australians aren't very good at football, as we know, compared to New Zealanders, so he gives that ball away to Rosa. A chance there for Auckland City on the counter-attack. Thankfully, Araya was not expecting that ball. Costarella can claim it, and we might get a chance here to do something. This is a long highlight, hopefully might actually be something going on in Shusha. Great work there, beat a couple of men and plays that one out to Riley Rogers. Let's see if he can make up for that passing error before. Indeed he can. Maybe he should be a New Zealander soon, because he definitely looks a lot better than an Australian, but good finish there into the bottom left corner past Musa Piper Kamara. That's a mouthful, and goal for Auckland City, but that makes it 1-0. Shusha picks up the assist. To be fair, Rogers still had quite a bit to do, but Shusha, some good work around the halfway line to beat a couple of men. He finds Rogers, and that makes it 1-0. Off the back of that, we've now got a free kick looking there for Evans at the far post. Unfortunately, can't quite do so, but Sam Clark can retreat and get that ball back for us. Now, Louis Henrique tries to find a teammate, Rossa. A couple of blocks there to just break that up, but thankfully they clear it deep there, City, and we get it back yet again through Sam Clark, doing some good defensive work there as our deep-lying playmaker. Now, Louis Evans, he will find the goal scorer in Riley Rogers again. Some good work from him, but takes on the shot. It's a shocker, but thankfully we're now 1-0 up because of him. albeit can't quite catch my breath yet, because shortly off the back of that, there is a goal kick. Ukic wins that one in there, but thankfully McGoldrick can tidy things up. He's wanted by a couple of A-League clubs. He's not far away at all from becoming a New Zealander. I think one of those A-League clubs after him are the Wellington Phoenix, so that would work quite well if that's a deal that we can get done. Maybe get a few more promising centre-backs through the door here at Cashmere Tech for next season, albeit probably won't do too many transfers going next season because we know how that can impact things, as we saw at the Chatham Cup earlier this week. Good chance there for Louis Evans. Well worked play, but unfortunately that shot comes off the woodwork, so we're definitely on the front foot here late in the first half, but still only 1-0 in front. And just making our way into 3 minutes of added time in the first half of this National League Championship Grand Final. Thankfully, much like in the league game back at the GMP, we have been the better team, but that one shot on target from both teams through Riley Rogers is the difference maker. We are 1-0 up now. Louis Evans actually on an orange injury as well as a yellow card. We'll take him off for Texera. We'll just see who the best tackler is here out of him and Sam Clark. It is Texera. He can stay there as the ball-in midfielder, not a usual position for him, but we'll try him here for the second half. We'll tell the guys they're doing well, capable of better, and hopefully kick away and make sure we pick up this National League Championship for a third straight season. And almost in the last 20 minutes of this game, it's taken a while here for the first highlight of the second half as the rain starts to come down here at Sky Stadium in Wellington. That's very typical, just need the wind, but unfortunately poor pass there from Shusha, and Auckland City might get a chance here on the counter-attack. Bowman with the Mohawk plays that one into the mixer yet again. Forced like Ukic's usually quite lethal, but thankfully today he's been off target. To be fair, so is everyone not named Riley Rogers. That one shot on target was the goal so far. Both teams very wasteful in terms of their attack. Now Alex Moore on a 6.4. Going to make our last couple of subs here. Have to bring on Kerwin to meet the under-20 requirements. So it's going to be him coming on for McGoldrick, and we're going to put there Michael James Gilbert up front. That's all our subs used. With only 15 minutes left, we still hold a 1-0 lead as Auckland City finally get some shots on target, but thankfully nothing too serious as we don't see them. Albeit maybe I shouldn't talk, because now Regia with a free kick. Can he beat the Italian in Costarella? It comes off the woodwork. It balloons back out there, thankfully. Tight angle, so Piper can't do too much just yet. We'll see what else this highlight does end up in. Fletcher, our former player, with a shot, but thankfully straight into the path of Costarella. And off the back of that, I think it might be time for us here. Just lower down the tempo and start to time waste, be more disciplined. Also, going to slow the pace down and distribute. The fullbacks also drop back to a standard defensive line. Hopefully, that will make sure we're a bit more solid defensively, because Auckland City now are getting off quite a few shots. In fact, overall shots in this game quite even, and Auckland City have got more on target than us. It's kind of like the All Whites from that Ukraine game, but I think this time we are winning, probably because on paper we're a better team than Auckland City. Late highlight here, but thankfully looks like it might be in our favour. Rogers, he'll find Janssen. That one comes off the woodwork, but unfortunately he was offside. I say unfortunately, quite thankful that, because then that would have been a big wasted chance from the Australian. We make our way into 3 minutes of added time. It was an ugly as sin game, that one. 13 shots, only 1 on target. All episode, my team's only got 2 shots on target. Maybe the Gegenpress needs a bit of work, but thankfully we're picking up wins here with Cashmere Technical, albeit doing it quite ugly, but we do pick up the National League title for a 3rd season in a row off the back of that 1-0 win over Auckland City. And there is the confirmation that it does complete actually a quadruple here, because for some reason yet again doesn't include the OFC Champions League, but we have lifted 4 trophies here this season at Cashmere Technical. This one, and of course the OFC Champions League, the Southern League, and the Charity Cup right at the start of the season. One less trophy than last season though, because of course we stuffed things up in the Chatham Cup. Apparently we're not as good as we think we are, to be fair. I kind of agree, our form of late has not been too good. Louis Evans joins the casualty wall, but thankfully big break now until the OFC Champions League. I say big break, probably not that big a break, because no doubt we'll end up in Group A or Group B as per usual. We get 300k for that win in the final. The board are happy with us, and we now are the team that's won the most National League titles in New Zealand. Either way, one team would have got that record off the back of that final. Thankfully, it's us, Auckland City. Not quite in the mud, but we're certainly a bit better than them these days here at Cashmere Technical. The board are quite pleased with us. Rogers, player of the match. You should be a New Zealander. far too good to be playing for those Socceroos. Hopefully you stay here long enough to become a New Zealand option. Another 120k, albeit are paying out quite a few bonuses to staff and players because of that win, but thankfully we pick up the National League for a third straight season. And while we make our way towards the end of season review here for 2031 at Cashmere Technical, first up the boring bit, we've got our youth intake, one potentially decent player here in Jacob Verhagen, who is a part Belgian central midfielder, can play a little bit defensively and also just a touch attacking, so we'll see if he ends up decent, but with only 2.5 star potential. Yet again, our youth intakes here are rubbish, so don't think we need to cover this one off too much more. Just see if anything else interesting is in there, no Suns or anything like that. And indeed, that is the case. We'll actually do a check shortly on Adam Does FMC if he's still over in Perth, but the youth intakes here have been rubbish, are missing the good ones that we did have up at AFC Auckland. But the main reason that we're coming back, we've got a transfer budget for next season. I think they've actually taken quite a bit of money off us here because we did have about 40k in the transfer budget and about 3k spare in the wage. As you'll see shortly, there's more money in the transfer budget, but quite a bit less in the wage budget shifted over, and they've definitely taken money off us, so I'm not too happy about that. But our transfer budget pretty much don't have one for next season, all going to be over in the wage budget. But as I said, probably want to keep things stable going into this next OFC Champions League, build some cohesion, so hopefully we can pick it up and make our way to the FIFA Club World Cup. And as I said, a quick check on Adam Does FM before we get stuck in to the end of season review. And indeed, he is still over in Perth at Floreat Affine. We'll just see what division those guys are in these days. In fact, we can do that on the career stats. They are still in the NPL this season, not quite doing as well in terms of goal scoring or assists, but still putting out some decent ratings. Adam Does FM doing a decent job over there in Western Australia. The poor boy will be sweating like an absolute trooper over there in Western Australia, albeit being part Uruguayan. Maybe he is used to the heat, but we'll come back shortly and get through the end of season review. And indeed, we've made our way forward to the end of season review for 2031. The way the seasons work here in New Zealand and Oceania. Still got no idea why the Champions League does not count there on that trophy page, but going forward to the transfers, lots of these. We'll just see who the best one was. It was Christian Benitez, who we did pick up on a free out of Paraguay. I think that is Rubio Nu. Indeed, that is where he came from, but Christian Benitez was the best signing this season, our regular first choice left winger over Ahmed Shusha. The average rating, not as good as some other players that we did sign, but in terms of games played, he was the highest alongside Riley Rogers. To be fair, 20 gold contributions less than Rogers and also a lower rating, but here's the player who did pick up signing of the season, which is a little bit weird maybe because the signing on fee there for Riley Rogers, but to be fair, most players that we did sign, the board are quite happy with going into this season. Apparently the flop was Isaac Hughes and also Louis Evans, who are two players not that far from international level, which is a little bit hilarious, but some of those players we did pick up quite late in the season, they'll have more of an impact come the next one. Hopefully we can make our way to a FIFA Club World Cup, and also there are the players that we did let go of some interesting names in there, in particular Aiki Tsukamoto for £25,000 and of course Justin Keat for £50,000 going into the start of the season. Moving forward to the results, these are going to be pretty good. We picked up National League with a near perfect record in the Southern League. That's actually our worst Southern League season so far because of that one loss to Nelson Suburbs, but thankfully that was the only loss we did suffer. That annoying draw against Auckland City in yesterday's episode, but thankfully made up for that just in that grand final, 1-0 over them to pick up that National League title. OFC Champions League, in the end, relatively comfortable once we got past Cossa, and of course that red card to Western Suburbs late in the first half of that grand final, albeit they did get their revenge in the Chatham Cup with a win on penalties up at Endeavour Park. We played them in all the games where we took them on this season, including the Charity Cup, which thankfully that one we did pick up on penalties. So 4 trophies for us here this season at Cashmere Technical, not the free, silly end of season review. Going forward, the moments to remember: our biggest win, 6-0 over AS Venus. I think that was in the second leg of the quarterfinals of the Champions League. The match to remember, 5-0 win over Nomads. Apart from an Alex Moore hat-trick, Not too sure about that one, but the goal of the season did come in one of our recent outings, and it was from Lorenzo Janssen, a free kick in the first minute. As I said earlier, we got to an absolutely hot start in this game, and this was the catalyst for that. Really good free kick that into the top right corner. I think you can probably say that does deserve to be goal of the season. Have scored some other decent ones, but to be fair, Lorenzo Janssen probably deserved it, and that's the one that does pick it up, even though that penalty shootout against Western Suburbs, we should probably not talk about that because that was kind of annoying how he and the other Australian, and I think it was Xavier Smith, both went down the middle. Somehow all of this has gone up, even though we didn't actually go that deep this season. In the Chatham Cup, we won't argue with it, and Shirt sellers the top ones. Teixeira, Janssen, Evans, Costarella, and Smith. So a couple of players who came in late this season, selling a few shirts for us here at Cashmere Tech. Will be interesting to see if that goes up, if we can make our way to a Club World Cup, as well as maybe our reputation, if we can pick up some wins over there, as unlikely as that does seem. The best 11 for this season, Josh Hawkins in goal, with only 2 appearances. That is a bit interesting. Enrique at right back, McGoldrick and Victor Ross at centre back, and Xavier Smith at left back. That back four does make sense, especially considering players like Pedro Bissi did come in halfway through the season. I suppose also that's the case some of our goalkeepers as well. The midfield, we've got Duty Radom alongside Teixeira, 2 deep lying playmakers, but interesting that. Riley Rogers out right, Benitez out left, Janssen in the middle, and Al Ghazali over Alex Moore up front is a very interesting decision, especially considering Al Ghazali actually scored this goal. So an interesting best 11 there selected for this end of season review. Going forward to the accolades, here they are. We picked up the Manager of the Year in the National League again, and the Fans Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season do both go to Lorenzo Janssen, the Australian. Hopefully in a couple of years' time, he might see the light and become an all-white option, just like Max Caputo, albeit not too sure if he'd actually make his way into the squads. Caputo is definitely a much better player. You saw before signing of the season and goal of the season. Riley Rogers, top goal scorer with 18. Most assists was Benitez, and he also picked up the most player of the matches. I suppose that might be why he did get that signing of the season. Highest average rating was Janssen, and on the right-hand side there, most player of the matches in the season, Christian Benitez with 6. And competition awards, we got none, which is very surprising, but quite a few players did make their way into the National League Best 11. But unfortunately, I skipped past that. I was trying to make my way through to the end of season review, so I wasn't spending too long here doing the space bar meshing like you sometimes can do in Football Manager. Going forward, the history in the making, superb season as we picked up our 4th successive title. Apparently, that must be in the Southern League and not the National League. And going forward to the Manager timeline, we'll see what's been added to this. We'll just go back to the end of last season, where of course we did go undefeated this year. We got Riley Rogers, big win in the Champions League, that 13-0 win over Tapuji Amiri in the group stage. Just did enough to beat Costa in the first leg. That was certainly a close run thing in the semi-finals, but thankfully got past Western Suburbs in the final to pick it up. Nathan Walker got 5 assists in that competition. We'll just go back there and actually hit the play button, making the leap because we got New Zealand up to our best ever world ranking of both 36th and 35th. Signed some players with quite a bit of potential on freeze down in the under-20s. Picked up the Southern League yet again. Christian Benitez with lots of assists again. Got our guys up to a record high with the All Whites of 34th, albeit that Ukraine game has stuffed that up just a little bit, dropping about 4 rankings off the back of that. A late win over the Phoenix Reserves in one of our last couple of games in the National League before that grand final, but thankfully did beat Auckland City and Christian Benitez with 13 assists overall. That is a very good season for him. Hopefully he might still qualify as under 20 for next season. That might be something actually we do need to sort out before we do get into next year. Might need to make a couple of changes just because of that. And also, we picked up the Manager of the Year, and that will do it for the end of season review. We'll just see in terms of the overall best 11 how many of our players are in this. Because, of course, quick reminder, haven't been here for all of the save. Adam does FM still on the bench. That's quite cool to see. Also, Ollie McGoldrick is now on the bench. We've got Josh Hawkins in goal, Victor Ross at centre back. The midfield, we've got Janssen and Walker, and Al Ghazali alongside Garbin Cogling up front, who is still banging the goals for Cashmere Technical in real life, like it's absolutely unfair compared to the other Southern League teams. and going up a bit more, we'll just check here on the club vision and expectations for next season. Win the OFC Champions League, but also attempt to avoid relegation from the Southern League. Doesn't make much sense in terms of consistency, but definitely want to win that OFC Champions League and make our way to a FIFA Club World Cup. That will do it for the 2031 season here with both Cashmere Technical and the All Whites. I think we actually made our way up the rankings a little bit, even though that Ukraine game kind of stuffed it up just a little bit, and thankfully did pick up the National League Grand Final, albeit not quite as good a season as last season of Cashmere Tech with that defeat in the quarterfinals of the Chatham Cup. If you enjoyed this season on the channel, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. As I said, next season going to have lots of stuff. OFC Champions League, if we can win that, should be making our way to the FIFA Club World Cup, where things could get very interesting and very tough for us here at Cashmere Technical. And also, I think we've got the OFC Nations Cup with the All Whites. Not too sure we can schedule as many interesting friendlies with those guys with that competition taking place, but hopefully we'll still stay inside the top 40 of the FIFA World Rankings. But until tomorrow, we will come back, potentially run through a few transfers before getting stuck into the group stages of the OFC Champions League. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.